What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. Today we're going to talk about the Zeta Toyworld beef. I know I've teased it a couple times and said that we were going to talk about it, but it's never happened. A lot of this is going to be a rehash of the Zeta past, present, and future, and I think I'm going to use this as like a middle piece to like another trilogy of mine and make the Toyworld past, present, and future soon and have all of that be kind of one linear story from both sides. They say there's three sides to a story, right? Because it is a very interesting bit of history and a very interesting kind of battle to watch, and we're going to give Zeta a particular award by the end of this. They are going to win a prestigious award, and we're going to give them that award by the end of this. Speaking of which, you know what time of year it is. I hope that you guys first are staying safe and staying sane with all the madness kind of going on and Bud Ice and all that. But more importantly, we got, well, maybe not more importantly, but perhaps on a better note, we have top 5s coming, top 10s coming, third-party awards coming. We got a lot of stuff to look forward to in December. A lot of work for me, but don't worry about me. I'll be just fine. But before we get into this bit today, I do want to go over a little bit of housekeeping. For one, most notably, the 4 Dummies nostalgia. It was interesting to read the comments. There was a lot of people that were like, well, the 90s stuff wasn't merchandised. And like, that's not entirely true. It was merchandised. It just didn't stick. There were a lot of products for a lot of those brands. They just didn't stick. Also, a lot of people were saying, well, the 90s had Batman the Animated Series, the 90s had X-Men. That's a good point, and I agree. However, in that video, I make a point to say, my dad had Batman, I had Batman. Batman is one of those things that proved the test of time from his generation. So you don't quite get credit for the X-Men or for Batman because that's something that was passed down. The animated series only launched because of the success of the Burton films. And it's not really a competition. It's just about, like, was it this perfect storm of content? And people were saying, like, well, it's not like their shows were excellently written. Like, you're missing the point. It's not that they were excellently written, they were uniquely written for their time, and they were written to their audience. A lot of people brought up that Transformers Prime was 10 years old, and I agree, and I don't think it's sticking the same way. I said 6. In my opinion, you saying 10 just lends more credence to my point. But anyway, interesting discussion. A lot of people got involved. That means it tapped into something, which is what I like to see more so than anything else, so I dig that. For the Patreon folks, that Uncut Dummies is funny and interesting because a lot of other like little side notes get brought up, so look forward to that soon. For the anticipation video, a lot of people mentioned Fans Toys Fort Max, and I get it. I think I'm in the boat where I'm like, that to me is like, it's like a pipe dream. Like, of all the stuff that they've announced, like, to me it's like probably the one that I feel like it's the least likely to get made. Not to say that it won't get made, not to say it's impossible or anything like that. It's just that, like, I have a hard time believing in that one when we're struggling to get all the other stuff out, and I mean struggling relatively speaking, right? Because they've been super prolific this year. But that one seems like a huge undertaking, and I'm just not sure if I believe it. I know they got a design. I'm just not sure if I believe it's actually going to come out. If it does, great. Trust me, I'd love to be wrong. But that's why it doesn't make my list, because like I almost don't think it's a thing. But a lot of people point out, like, it is interesting how close we could get if people just make the stuff that they've said they're going to. My Transformers collection tour, a lot of people seem to enjoy that. I'm glad love to see it, love to hear it. I will tell you that, like, it has been a learning curve. That collection has been the most challenging collection to try to figure out how to display in some way that looks good. It's a challenge, and it's a learning curve, and it's a constant work in progress, and my hat is off to anybody trying to figure it out. Speaking of figuring it out, I did put up on my Facebook recently that I was taking submissions for collections to have the dummies critique them. Look, I just want to say this. We did 2 episodes on it that will be coming this month, and we didn't make it through 1/6 of the entries. So we're gonna do 1 a month for the foreseeable future, which is exciting, unless people get tired of it, in which case we'll stop. But I will tell you, there's a wide range of entries. There's stuff that's going to be picked apart like meat from a Thanksgiving Day bone, and then there's stuff that's going to be praised to high regard. There's stuff that's like an interesting take on, oh, I never thought about doing it that way, and then there's everything in between those two. Believe what I say when I tell you. But back to the collection real quick. A lot of people were saying things like you need to swap out you know, this piece for that piece and that piece for this piece, and there's a new X-Transbot sweeps, and there's a... Look, let me tell you something. One thing that I have learned from these displays, from these finished displays, I finished my Marvel Legends display, and I'm in the process of finishing my Star Wars and Transformers displays, and then I'm on to the next. But the one thing that I've learned about it is, if the display space is curated properly, you don't need to keep up with the Joneses. And what I mean by that is, not everything needs to be constantly swapped out, because the whole is greater than its individual parts. The display is the end. The figures are a means to the end. They're only part of it. And I think that curating a space is going to become a Sit Down Saturday topic as well. Because I've noticed that it's what tends to make a lot of these entries successful. It's what has eventually made mine successful. It's also what has made every one of mine up until this point unsuccessful. And it's a gift. It's really a gift, because I have no interest in swapping pieces. Zero interest, because nobody looks at the whole space and says, that one's not the newest, greatest thing. No one cares, because the overall presentation speaks to a larger point. And that also kind of ties into the coronation video, you know, with people saying like, well, you should swap out the Scourge. It's like, dude, if you were here and you saw it, like, I can just tell you that nobody looks at it that way. Real quick, while talking about displays, I just started buying some 6-inch Mattel DC stuff. If you're looking to get rid of some, contact me and I will peruse what you have available and we'll work something out. To the folks that ordered blankets, the Sherpa have gone out, and I think I have a couple left over from cancels and stuff. So if you're interested, hit me up for the Dinobot blanket on the Sherpa. The woven, we're still waiting for them to come in. I apologize for the delay. They say it is being expedited. And now we can get to today's video. So like I said, a lot of this is going to be rehashed from the Zeta toys past, present, and future. But I think we need to look at some of this stuff, okay? I think we need to think about it in terms of its history. So what we do know is that Toyworld was hiring designers to design the toys, and then Toyworld was producing them. And what ultimately happened was somebody signed good business and somebody signed bad business. If you need more examples of that, look into what's going on with Taylor Swift, Dave Chappelle. When people sit down and negotiate something, the goal is always for it to be kind of meeting in the middle at 50-50, but usually somebody signs good business, somebody signs bad business. And apparently the Zeta Toys folks either signed bad business, or the Toyworld folks did not live up to their word. One of which had to happen for the turn of events to happen the way they did. Toyworld has huge success with a couple of things. Their constructor, which is built on the back of what they learned, in my opinion, from their Throttlebot set. Their constructor changes the game forever. There's no going back. And before you can say best combiner ever, they announced a Bruticus and a Superion that look like they're on par with what's going on with their constructor, and the world couldn't be more excited. And then Zeta Toys announces the exact same thing. And we come to realize that Zeta Toys wasn't getting paid properly, so they claim, allegedly, right? And decided to take their designs with them, start their own company, and sell the figures. And the reason why they were so affordable at first is probably because they got a little bit of money from Toyworld on the front end and didn't get what they thought they were being owed on the back end, i.e. Dave Chappelle. So Zeta Toys become the one that actually produced the Bruticus and Superion, and they're both pretty good. The Superion is great, the Bruticus is really good. And we just kind of, in my opinion, kind of think, okay, Zeta Toys is off to the races, they are their own entity now, they're carrying on the flag of their combiners. Wrong. They released Cosmos and Sea Spray, which I guess we can take as were also Toyworld designs that they had brought to the table, and now they're releasing them. So this begins what is, in my opinion, the first punch to Toyworld. Now, Toyworld has ties to entities, and I can't prove any of that, but it certainly seems that way. They also have ties to iGear. We're going to get into that on the Toyworld past, present, and future. And if you have any information on it, please hit me up, because I'm looking into it. But this was a punch to them. This was an attack, and it didn't stop. We got their Jazz, we got their RC, both of which were released by Toyworld, now are being released by Zeta with paint. Then we get the whole Dinobot combiner. Originally released by Toyworld, not as solid as their Throttlebot combiner, and not nearly anywhere close to their constructor. We got also from Zeta with metallic paint. We got a Zeta Optimus Prime. Like, they were putting out anything that Toyworld had ever done. There was even rumors that a Megatron was coming from their early Toyworld efforts, and they released those display bases that were kind of Arc and Nemesis inspired. So pretty much anything they had access to. And this period kind of seemed like a just smack, 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 smack to Toyworld, just over and over and over again. But then the direction direction changed. Toyworld probably hired new designers and brought in new designers to create new lines, a lot of which have been movie inspired. So what did Zeta do? They began to make movie designs. They've never had any or shown any interest in movie designs. Now Toyworld is doing it. Now Zeta's like, all right, well, I guess that's the vibe. So this is kind of the second stage of the attack that we see from Zeta. First was everything you had released prior. Now it's going to be whatever you do, we're going to do. And we even see it a little bit with Predaking, right? Toyworld announces a Predaking, Zeta announces a Predaking. It's like whatever you do, we're going to step on it. Whatever you do, we don't care. We're out for blood. It's how it seemed. Toyworld hands off the Predaking to Kang Toys. We never hear a peep about it again from Zeta. You know? Unfortunately. And then Toyworld kind of goes balls to the wall with movie stuff. They got the World War II era movie stuff or whatever that was. They've got new movie stuff. They've got that Prime. They've got, I mean, they're just unit after unit after unit, all movie, all Bayverse stuff, right? And Zeta kind of slows down on that. So I kind of thought for a minute, okay, maybe they're calling it even. Maybe the damage has been done. Maybe this is the end of the feud. Nope. Years later, after Toyworld has produced certain molds, here comes Zeta with, oh yeah, we're doing these. They put out the cone heads. They put out the Astro Train. The cone heads are kind of actually good, but the Astro Train is terrible in spite of what people will say in those comments when they went on sale. Don't listen to them. It's not good. But they're putting that out. And they're putting out the Fort Max that Toyworld did years ago, which was I think a TF Source exclusive. Look, the hate between these two companies, you can reach out and touch it. Whatever Toyworld did to the folks that designed the Zeta stuff, it pissed them off. This is real anger. But what concerns me about Zeta is Zeta was on a trajectory to be one of the most well-known and highly regarded third-party companies on the market. Their combiners even had fans' toys shook. That's a fact. And I worry sometimes that they've sacrificed their footing for a killing stroke, if you will. That if they are no longer regarded the same way because they're releasing product that's now outdated and out of touch because they just want to fuel a fire of a feud that started years ago with a company that nobody's really talking about. I worry that it comes down to kind of that old saying that, like, you know, a wise man told me don't argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who is who. I think it's an interesting kind of beef to follow, but I think it's ultimately only hurting Zeta and not really having a negative effect on Toyworld, other than being annoying. I don't think Toyworld is anywhere near as successful today as they were when they had Zeta, and I think that the biggest impact, the biggest uppercut that Zeta ever served them was leaving in the first place, and the damage was done. So I'm looking forward now to getting into the Toyworld past, present, and future, but I've always talked about doing this video and kind of my thoughts on it, and that's basically them.
The award that Zeta wins is the Petty Award. The Petty Award.
And with that, take care of yourselves. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time.